First Responder Wellness for the whole person with your hosts, Corinne and Caise.
But what did you just say? We're talking about transition to school, and you said something really smart, and I couldn't find the record button. Well, what did you just say? I liked it.
Yeah, just that the start of school and really like September, I like to think of that as a new year, kind of new year resolution, as opposed to doing January 1st, which by the time holidays are over, people are exhausted and burned out. It's the middle of the winter. It's hard to be like motivated for things. It's really like the beginning of the school year, even if you don't have kids starting school or you're not in school yourself, but that kind of like reset of how summer's over. Now is like, and I don't know about you, but my schedule and clients coming that's a very busy time. People are like now geared up to do the work that they maybe have put off during the summer. We have a lot more cancellations in the summer, a lot more people being like, I'll see you in August kind of thing. And everything gets really like, I'm slammed during the month of September. And with my kids and stuff, we're all in like full swing of getting back into routine and getting on schedules, better sleep schedules and homework and sports and all of that stuff. So
I love that you said September, because really a lot of the schools are starting like August 14th, August 18th. So we don't have a lot of time for like we're public school. It's going to even be before summer's anywhere near over. Like it's coming.
yeah. Yeah. And I know it's like traditionally we think of back to school as September, but it is middle of August. But I even think like those first couple weeks back are a little bit more like, we're like just getting to school, just barely on time. We're like kind of, it's like September is where we are in the swing. After Labor Day is where like, to me, it feels like it counts.
Yeah.
Now we're in it.
Not just, I like that you said, not even just with children. Many of us, even just seasonally, if you live anywhere where you have seasons, there's also that season vibe that changes too. So we've got a transition coming up.
Yeah.
Are transitions harder for first responders, do you think? Because of all the other stuff we talk about? Like, do they need to be more prepared?
I think if anything, they actually might be better at transitions than the Gen Pop is because they are doing transitions constantly, not just on shift, but coming off shift and all of that. But transitions are hard for people in general. And I think, and are really difficult for children. And then we really don't outgrow that. And so I really try to tell people too, to have grace for their kids, no matter what time of like, that's usually when kids struggle the most emotionally is transitioning from one thing to the next. Coming home from school, they fall apart on the way home and in the car and are a mess. And getting to school is a hard transition and getting them started throughout the day. And for divorced families, going between houses can be a difficult transition, settling into the other parent's house. Back to school is tough for everybody. And first responders with the different shifts and all of that and having kind of in that school routine, it can be tricky for everybody.
And I always say to my clients here, we're not going to talk about the S word until August because I don't want to have to discuss it. But I'm thinking that we should probably start some conversations with our kids even or our loved ones or whomever ourselves. How are we going to handle this transition? When do you think we should start talking about what we could do to make it better?
I think we start as soon as we can, like even looking at like what happened last year and last school year and what went well, what didn't, what do we want to get better at? And whether it's like, is our wake up time too early, not early enough? How did breakfast go? Packing lunches? What's our like chore schedules? What is this going to look like? And even starting to get school shopping. I know that can be incredibly overwhelming. It's very overwhelming for me doing all the school supplies and the shoes and the stuff,
And it's so much more expensive. And I have bigger boys. So like getting a pair of jeans used to be like 10, 15 bucks. Now it's like 50 because financially transitions cost money.
Yes. And then going to the store on the tax-free weekends is like, I am like, is it even worth it? Because
do
of
it on
the
your
crowds.
phone, Amazon, do Amazon,
Yeah.
Target, Walmart, whoever you. And last year they extended it to beyond just certain things. Like they extended it really broad last year, so we'll see. So that's a preparation, isn't that coming up in like early
August? I think the first weekend in August, maybe.
August, yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder, my clients do this thing, and I love it. They do summer bucket lists. So in the beginning of summer, we talk about summer. We always talk about what's summer going to look like. What are you going to do? Maybe a way to transition to this change, which you just mentioned, comes with schedules, waking up, if you have kids. I wonder about making a little bit of a bucket list for the fall. into winter. What are some things I want to do now that school's starting, or now that my kids are going to school, or now that the weather's changing or we're getting busier? Might not be a
Yeah,
bad
and
idea.
even like your goal for the year, some like a push, something you want to push yourself to do, something that you want to like work on to do better, whether it's being organized or share it, like doing better with a shared calendar with your significant other. I know that figuring out the ways to communicate scheduling stuff is often something that I'm discussing in here with families. And one person wants it on paper or the board at home, and then you're making an appointment here, and it's like, how do we stay on the same page with what needs done, sharing the mental load, keeping everybody where they're supposed to be, who's picking up, who's dropping off, all that stuff.
Leaning heavy then into, I can tell, just one, we have kids, but it definitely seems like it's going to be harder for those with young people or children, even college age, because I feel in our language we see it. There's just so many more people and schedules to keep track of. Should we be really kind to ourselves? And this doesn't just extend to first responders. I feel like we need more self-attention, self-care, self-time to get through this transition. And do you agree? And what are some of the things you might do?
Yeah, absolutely. And like not having incredibly lofty expectations of yourself or others, of like, a big piece of it is being compassionate that this transition is hard for everybody, paying attention to who's got the majority of the mental load. Typically, there's one spouse or parent that is holding most of the like doctor's appointments, school supply list, teachers trying to get the schedule going, and a lot of times that is the first responder that I'm seeing, because they are type A. They typically have been in that role, but if it's not them, then keeping in mind their significant other is carrying all of that. How do we share the load? Not just like, what do you need me to do, but what can I take off of your list that can be, I'm in charge of. I will keep the ticker in my brain going on. This needs done. Where are we at with it? All that stuff.
So being willing to talk and disperse some of your jobs, if you will, or some of your tasks so that you don't have so much on yourself, or recognize that somebody else that's important to you has a lot on their plate and maybe offer.
Yeah, I recommend that people have weekly business meetings with their spouse or even co-parent, that is like, what's going on the upcoming week, what's your schedule, what's my schedule, where are the gaps, what appointments are there, what house things need to be taken care of, like the upcoming thing. And then even being looking at your finances together each week, then it isn't so overwhelming. And you don't have to spend a date night talking about this kind of stuff. You've got a business meeting, the business of running your household and your family, where you're
Can we have wine during this business meeting?
you can, but if and only if that doesn't tend to lend itself to arguments historically anyway, because sometimes people get like their courage to bring up stuff, and this isn't the time to be doing like emotional stuff like, I don't think you're available, or we need to be having more sex, or you're not initiating enough in that way. Like that stuff is, this is the business meeting. I mean, unless some, for people with young kids, you may need to be scheduling sex, so that could be, the logistics of that is fine, but
So when are we going to put that video on?
yeah, and when is it that we have a babysitter there at school and we're both off or whatever? Yeah.
Or Corinne, I don't see why you have to schedule such things. Just close the
Just close the
That's
door,
a whole nother that's a whole nother topic. We should talk about sex. I would love
yeah.
that. We'll earmark that. For those listening, keep your eyes open. We're going to get sassy. But I interrupted. So you were saying this is a logistic weekly check-in, so that especially during transition time, you can all be on the same page and not throw stuff at each other when you're trying to walk out the door.
Yeah, or expect the other person to be reading your mind, or seeing that like this thing is coming up and you both have different agendas of what you think needs done. Or usually most households, one person handles all the finances, and that is really burdensome and unfair, because then you end up being parenting the other significant other, or telling them what they can and cannot do. If we're looking at the things and we're seeing what's coming up, and either we got to tighten up, we're deciding on these things together. And when I have people who do this and stick to it, they are like, it makes everything better, their whole relationship, everything better, because this is the dedicated time to be addressing these things and talking about like the load. And even if normally it's my job to mow the grass, but it's supposed to rain most of the week. And the days that I'm off are going to be days that it's going to rain. So can you do that this week, or can you help me out in other ways? Yeah.
I think it's great. So we're talking about communicating in logistics and giving yourself grace. And I would add doing things that keep you soothed, whether that's sensory, social, creative. Fill in some of these gaps with things that for you as an individual help you stay balanced and grounded. Because transitions, to your point earlier, are supposed to knock us sideways a little bit. So we need to bring ourselves forward. And I think being attentive to that, a lot of times people will tell me after the fact how horrible they feel because they weren't able to utilize skills or strategies prior. And I think if we don't have podcasts on this, we'll add some about strategies and skills for regulation.
And even if we have the lofty goals of what the schedule is going to look like for the week, and the first week comes and you are meeting on the weekend, maybe Sunday morning for coffee or something, to do this, no more than an hour conversation. When you're doing it regularly, it won't even take that long. But then you can say what went well, what do we think would go well, and it didn't go well, and we got to change and pivot for this next week, and how do we make it all happen? And are working together. We're on the same team.
Yeah, I like that. I like the check-in. So together we work with those we care about in transitions, and then on our own we can take care of our own space. And then with our kiddos, I think you said getting them on a good schedule, maybe also helping those primal human day-to-day things that get lost in the summer, the sleep, the meals, the attention to their space. So starting that maybe a little bit early so their bodies are used to it and ready for the transition.
And giving some of the chores to our kids. I think, our generation has really gotten away from like having, I can't tell you how many people that are still packing their like high schoolers lunch. When I was making my kids lunches, they would bring them back uneaten. And I'm like putting all this into it. People will usually push back and say, but if they pack their lunches, they'd only pack junk. Well, yeah,
It's
in the beginning, you're checking it. And then after that, it's like, yeah, this is on them too.
And to comment on lunches, working in schools for so long, we just want food in their body. We don't care what it is because a lot of kids aren't even putting enough food in. So as long as they're getting nutrition, super important during the day. Passing on chores, letting other people, including your children, do some of those seasonal or transitional chores.
And more responsibility. It's on them, to even them setting their own alarms. And then you could be obviously backup if they struggle with that. But it's like some autonomy, some like learning their own personal responsibility is a great thing. I know their teachers will appreciate that a lot.
And maybe starting that, you mentioned the alarm for kids who haven't done it before, starting in August early to get used to using an alarm, setting it, figuring out the ringtone that'll wake them up. That's a great thing to start early for if they're going to start that new. Well, this was a short and sweet one. I know we both have clients to go to, but I think it's a good start getting us ready, thinking about fall and pumpkins and the season change. I'm not ready for this, by the way. I don't like this talk.
Yeah, no, I know. It's halfway. We're at the halfway mark of summer.
I'm going to need some self-care for myself or some visits to the beach. That ought to do it.
Yes,
That's
yes.
perfect. All right. So we'll be talking about sex and strategies next time.
Perfect.
I love it.
Join us for our next episode on First Responder Wellness for the Whole Person.